ॐ सहनाववतु सहनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। I bow to formless and omnipresent God. I bow to all the saints and sages of all times and places. I humbly bow to lineage of Kriya Yoga masters. I bow to living presence of God in each one of you. Good evening and welcome to our series of talks on yoga philosophy. Today, we are going to take the topic about evolution of 6 philosophies. I would say these are the 6 steps of spiritual evolution. Human beings are gifted with 4 inner instruments to know and experience the world. They are our mind, memory, intellect, and ego. It has been a natural urge in us to gain knowledge, to know and experience the mystery of this creation and the creator. Our thought process and analysis gave birth to various philosophies over the period of time. The Vedas are the original and fundamental books of wisdom and spiritual life. They teach us the means for attainment of the highest goal in life, which is the fulfillment of one's own responsibility and duty. To understand the intricacies of the subtle reality of life, different schools of philosophy were developed to help the seekers reach the different states of spiritual enlightenment. We can divide these philosophies into categories. They are known as darshana. Philosophy is known as darshana in Sanskrit. So there are 2 types of philosophies. One is called Nastika. Nastika darshan, which is propounded by a scholar. His name is Charvak. Nastika philosophy or Nastik darshan believes in eat, drink, and be merry, because they were based on the philosophy. So long as you live, take debt, take loan, and enjoy the life. Once this body is reduced to ashes, who is going to repay the loan and come back in this world? On the other side, there is Astika Darshana. Astika Darshana, those who believe in Veda. In the traditional and spiritual philosophy of India, there are 6 schools which are known as Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Purvamimamsa, Yoga, and Uttarmimamsa. And these 6 schools are not really so different from each other. Rather, they are complementing each other, each one becoming a step in spiritual evolution. It is the seeker's journey until attainment of perfection is reached. So, just to give you some idea, what are the 6 schools of philosophy? So, you can see the Indian philosophy we divide in Astik and Nastik. The difference is Nastika philosophy or Nastik darshan whereas Astic philosophy, they believe firmly in Vedas, and the Vedas are the primary source of knowledge. So our Hindu philosophy is the Astika philosophy. And Nastika philosophy, the religions or the traditions which came out of that are the Buddhism, Jainism, and Charvak. Charvak is the school of materialism. So we'll talk about the Astika philosophy. Astika philosophy also, there are two branches. One is atheistic and other is theistic. So atheistic, we can say there are three schools under that. Sankhya, which is the school of dualism, Nyaya, which is the school of logic, and Vaisheshika, school of empirism. The theistic or philosophy or branch of Astika, it has non-rejection of God. So in non-rejection of God, it accepts God very firmly. So in that, three schools come: Yoga, Purva Mimamsa, which is the school of orthopraxy, and Uttar Mimamsa, otherwise known as Vedanta. And then Vedanta also has a branch in the modern time, which is called Neo Vedanta, which has the concept of karma, jnana, bhakti, and Raja Yoga together. Then further branches of Uttar Mimamsa or Vedanta, there are three. They call it Advaita Vedanta, Vishishta Advaita Vedanta, and Dvaita. However, this is just an outline. So what is the detail? So in short, we can say Astika philosophy, those who believe the authority of Veda. Now, if we talk about the Astika philosophy, so these six philosophies come to our mind. So first philosophy, they are known as Shad Darshana. Philosophy means Darshana, so Shad Darshana. Now, if you look at this simple diagram, so they are known as Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Purva Mimamsa, Yoga, and Vedanta. Nyaya is the school of logical interpretation of life. And it is Nyaya philosophy is, who is the founder? Sage Gautama. Then Vaisheshika is based on analytical approach of creation and matter going to the atom. And this philosophy is founded by Sage Kanada. Sankhya philosophy is the philosophy of number because it is coming from the word Sankhya, means number. And we'll discuss in detail a little bit more. And Sankhya philosophy is founded by Sage Kapila, whose elaborate description you can find in the Holy Bhagavatam. Purva Mimamsa deals with the ritualistic worship like doing fire ceremony and other rituals. And Purva Mimamsa is founded by Sage Jaimini. Yoga philosophy tells us about realizing the presence of the creator in oneself. And the propounder of yoga philosophy, Sage Patanjali. Then last one, Uttar Mimamsa, otherwise known as Vedanta. Vedanta means end of knowing through the experience of the absolute. And Sage Vyasa is the founder of Vedanta philosophy. Let's go a little bit deeper into each one of them. What is Nyaya philosophy? Nyaya or logic? I'll not take into very lengthy discussion because of the shortage of time, but I'll give some idea about these different philosophies. So in the Nyaya, which is the first one, when this question comes to human being that who is God? What is this world? What is the purpose of my life? So these basic inquiries were always there. So to know that, they started discussion, they started contemplation, and slowly with the thought process, these different philosophies came into existence. The first one came the Nyaya, the logic philosophy. So there are four methods of gaining knowledge, and they are known as pramana. You want to know something, so what is pramana? What is the proof? What is not? How to get that knowledge of any object or anything? How to gain knowledge of any object, whether in the world or beyond the world? So they say there are four methods, pramana. One is called direct perception, pratyaksha pramana. Direct means there is no other means, but you directly experience. You see something. Suppose I'm looking at you. So I'm looking at you. This is pratyaksha. It's not second hand, the information or knowledge. This pratyaksha is coming from word prati aksha. Aksha means eyes, eye, and prati means direct. The second method of gaining knowledge is inference. That is called anumana pramana. Anuman means to infer. We don't see something directly with our eyes, but we hear or we guess something. That, for example, if we look into the sky and there are black clouds, so we immediately infer that there will be rain. Although we have not seen that rain has come or not, or was it raining before, but we can just guess. This is anuman, inference. Then comparison or analogy. So it is called upamana. We compare two objects and then we arrive at some conclusion, and that is the knowledge. The fourth method of gaining knowledge is verbal knowledge or testimony. That is called Shabda Pramana. For example, our scriptures. In the scriptures, it is said that God is truth, God is love, God is this, and how to practice. So all these are verbal knowledge, which are passed on to us by our saints and sages. They are the testimony, but they are Shabda Pramana. We take those words as it is as truth. In our day-to-day experience, we all use one or a combination of these four methods to gain knowledge, whether it is worldly knowledge or knowledge beyond the world, but we try to understand the truth or gain knowledge using one of these or all four of these methods in Nyaya philosophy or logic. Little bit more about the logic or Nyaya philosophy is Sage Gautam speaks of the logical interpretation of life in this Nyaya philosophy. So a seeker looks at the reality of life in a logical and rational manner and wants to analyze the basis of life. The seeker finds that this life is constantly changing. It is neither permanent nor it is real source of happiness. And all relations are constantly changing. So seeker wants to understand the world as well as the physical body a little more. So these are the four methods to get the knowledge of the creation and creator. The second step, which is called Vaisheshika philosophy. So what is Vaisheshika philosophy? The sage Kanad, who founded this Vaisheshik philosophy, he describes the analytical approach of creation and matter, going to its minute state, the atom. And the atomic theory, which is very popularly known as founded by Rutherford in the modern time, but Sage Kanad is the founder of atomic theory. So in brief, it is the atomic theory of matter, which is called Vaisheshika philosophy. Analyzing this creation, even in the body, one finds that existence of all substance is nothing but the play and configuration of matter. Still, the seeker finds no answer to reality and truth. So this system of Vaisheshika divides the universe into 6 categories or padartha known as dravya or substance. Guna, the quality, karma or action, samanya or that which constitutes a genus, vishesha or that which constitutes its uniqueness or individuality, and finally, samavaya or coherence. So each of these categories are again subdivided into further subcategories. Without going into too much detail, we only indicate 2 of these subcategories. For instance, substance is divided into 9 subcategories of earth, water, light, air, ether, time, space, self, and mind. So the substances cannot exist without qualities of which there are 17, like color, taste, smell, touch, number, extension or quantity, individuality, conjunction, priority, thought, pleasure, pain, desire, aversion, and will, and so on. The substances are affected by five kinds of action: upward motion, downward motion, contraction, expansion, and movement from one place to another. The first four qualities, namely color, taste, smell, and touch, are made up of indivisible atoms which have no dimension. It also, this is philosophy speaks about the mind and soul. Then theological aspect of Vaisheshika philosophy is God creates the world out of eternal atoms, and the composition and decomposition of atoms explain the making and breaking of the composite objects of the world. Since the atoms cannot move by themselves, it is God who directs their operation according to law of karma. So with the basis of logical approach, which is Nyaya philosophy, and the Vaisheshika atomic analysis, the seeker then wants to probe deeper into life. So he enters the next school of philosophy, or Sankhya philosophy. Now here, the main points, Vaisheshika philosophy, it depends on few things. So to synthesize, all the objects in the physical universe are reducible to a finite number of atoms, and Brahman is regarded as the fundamental force that causes consciousness in these atoms. The reality, according to this philosophy, has many bases or categories, which are substance, attribute, action, genus, distinct quality, and inherence. All the objects of the universe are composed of five elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And God is the guiding principle. The living beings were rewarded or punished according to law of karma based on the action of merit and demerit. So these are the main points of Vaisheshik philosophy. Now it gives rise to the next question about more analysis. So we come to the third philosophy, which is called Sankhya Darshana, or Sankhya philosophy of Sage Kapil. Sankhya philosophy emphasizes Purusha and Prakriti as the center and circumference of creation. So Purusha is the center, Prakriti is the circumference. Prakriti consists of 24 elements plus one Purusha. So that becomes 25 in total. So that's why it is known as number. So it is called Sankhya philosophy because of the Sankhya or number. Prakriti means the natural elements of creation or creative force. The 24 constituents of Prakriti are the five elements, five pranas, and the 10 sense organs, then four inner instruments: mind, intellect, ego, and memory. The Purusha, indwelling spirit, is the real guiding force of creation that remains hidden in the creation. If the body is accepted as Prakriti, then indwelling spirit, the soul, is known as the Purusha. So here in Sankhya philosophy, seeker goes even deeper into life and its activities, always finding that the body nature is active in presence of Purusha, the soul. That is what is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Maya adhyakshana prakriti suyate sa characharam. Under my supervision, God is telling, under my supervision, this entire prakriti, or 8 elements of prakriti, they are playing. However, it is not the ultimate end. So what are the main points of Sankhya philosophy? we can see here. In Sankhya philosophy, we have two, Prakriti and Purusha. So everything in reality stems from Purusha. And Purusha, you can say the self, soul, or the mind, sometimes it is referred to. And Prakriti is the matter, creative energy, or simple energy. Purusha cannot be modified or changed, while Prakriti brings changes in all objects. So this world is the Prakriti, the body is the Prakriti, which is going through constantly several changes throughout. But the Purusha, for example, the soul within or omnipresent God, remains completely changeless. So the 25 elements, if we speak about the Sankhya philosophy, it is the basis. So they include five gross elements: ether, air, fire, water, and earth. Then five organs of perception: ears, skin, eyes, mouth, and nose. Five organs of action: tongue, hands, feet, genital, anus. And then it includes four inner instruments: mind, memory, intellect, and ego. So these are the 24, and they all are governed by Purusha. So in total, 25 elements. Now, Sankhya philosophy gives us a good understanding of creation and creator, but still, it is not giving us the ultimate truth. So we come to the development of the next philosophy, which is the next step of spiritual introspection, known as Purva Mimamsa. Purva Mimamsa, it is founded by Sage Jaimini, is the first branch of the Vedas dealing with ritualistic worship. It is also known as Karma Kanda. So here Sage Jaimini, who is the disciple of Sage Vyasa, elaborately discusses the different modes of worship. The one who is adorable is Purusha, the supreme creator, as well as his natural forces of creation like Yama, Surya, Indra, and Prajapati. They are God. The way to worship these natural forces is known as yajna or sacrifice. In our previous class, we discussed about the science of yajna, fire ceremony. So in the Purva Mimamsa philosophy, seeker accepts the path of expressing his or her gratitude and has an obligation in the path of spirituality to the creator. So yajna is the fire ceremony or sacrifice is the means to know the beauty of creation and the creator to the art of sacrifice or offering. From external worship to different prayers and sacrifices, the seeker wants to go deeper into the experience of truth. So this is the basis. And if we sum up this philosophy, Purva Mimamsa, then the points which we get from Purva Mimamsa, they are Purva Mimamsa also, we can say it is called Dharma Mimamsa and Karma Mimamsa, because law of karma is already there. Now the ritual or duties towards the forces of nature to know the self. So it is known as Karma Mimamsa and Dharma Mimamsa. And Purva Mimamsa strongly defends Vedic ritualism regarded as the stepping stone to knowing the transcendent Brahman. It is the most religious of the all philosophies and an abiding faith in the Vedas and the equally strong commitment to discharging the duties commanded by the Vedas is the core practice of Purva Mimamsa. Means how to live in the world, following all the duties, responsibilities as recommended by the Vedas, and simultaneously offering oblations, offering prayers to God and forces of nature, then know the truth. And in the Purva Mimamsa, heaven was the goal. That when we perform yajna or doing some good charity, so the goal is that we reach the heaven. Although later Mimamsakas, those who are thinkers, they seem to have nodded in the favor of liberation from the cycle of birth and deaths. So initially they say heaven is the goal, but Purva Mimamsa tells later that no, after heaven also, the goal of this philosophy or all this ritualistic worship is to attain liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Then after Purva Mimamsa, the next phase came, which is yoga philosophy. So you see that before Purva Mimamsa, there was not much ritualistic practice or not much concept about God. It was something in the transcendental realm. And with Purva Mimamsa, more form and formalities came. Now, fifth philosophy is called yoga philosophy, which is founded by sage Patanjali. Yoga philosophy is the esoteric method of speaking about realizing the presence of creator in oneself. So it is more introvert inner philosophy. Two, a life of self-discipline and purification of the mind. One gets ready for that experience. The aphorisms on yoga by Sage Patanjali speak of 8 limbs, Ashtanga Yoga, which are really 8 subtle steps for self-emancipation. These 8 limbs of yoga are yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So ultimate goal of yoga practice is to achieve that state of experience of complete union with the Supreme Being. And that's why it is called yoga philosophy. Yoga means union. So 8 steps we can discuss elaborately in some other time. So ultimately, if we synthesize this yoga philosophy, what are the main points of yoga philosophy? They are yoga philosophy is the esoteric method of speaking about realizing the presence of creator in oneself. So in Purva Mimamsa, it is still external worship of divinity. But in yoga philosophy, fifth one, it is more esoteric practice where we go within. So inside the body or inside in the world, we try to perceive divinity and become one with that. So in the practice of yoga philosophy, there is a method by which we purify the mind. Then there are practices which help us to discipline our body and mind, and we get ready for the ultimate experience. And yoga philosophy teaches us how to go through step by step, but there is a perfect method of 8 limbs or Ashtanga Yoga. Just to clarify that these 8 limbs are yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So yama means some vows, some discipline related to ourselves. Then, when we live in the society, there are also some rules and disciplines we need to follow with others. So, yama and niyama, these are the 5 yamas are there and 5 niyam. Then, asana means some posture. So, there are traditional postures to discipline the body. Then, pranayama, breath regulation. Pratyahara, pratyahara means withdrawal of senses. So, whatever the sense organs are enjoying in this world, we just cut off them and we introvert them. So this is the practice of pratyahara. And in our kriya practice, khechari mudra, closing the eyes, and certain posture we make, they are representing pratyahara. Then dharana means concentration, dhyana is meditation, and samadhi is the ultimate experience of oneness with God. So the ultimate goal of spiritual practice in yoga philosophy is to achieve that state of experience of complete union with the Supreme Being. So in short, this is about yoga philosophy. Next year, we'll take this yoga philosophy into much detail with reference to all the important aphorisms from Yoga Sutra Patanjali. Then comes the sixth school of philosophy, which is Uttar Mimamsa, founded by Sage Vyasa. Uttar Mimamsa is known as Vedanta also. Vedanta, this word Vedanta, means it is the end of knowing through the experience of the absolute. So if we come to that ultimate experience of uh, becoming one with God and we maintain that state, there's nothing more to know in this world. So that's why it is known as the end of knowing. Vedanta does not mean it is the end of Veda, but it is end of knowing, because after that there's nothing more to know. You are complete, you are perfect. It is possible with direct interaction between a realized master and a sincere seeker. So in Vedanta or Uttar Mimamsa, always there is guru-disciple tradition followed very much. The sincere seeker in Vedantic philosophy is known as Adhikari. Adhikari means a qualified student. The fundamental concepts should be clear from the beginning. Adi Shankara and other masters have given beautiful and systematic explanation of aspects of Vedantic thought. So just to tell about the Adhikari, Adhikari means qualified student is one who has clearly observed the transient world and its true nature. He has found the able teacher to help him overcome the cloud of confusion and delusion, so as to bring freedom from all suffering and to establish him in eternal bliss. And in Vedanta philosophy, they follow sadhana chatushtya. So any qualified student first has to practice this fourfold discipline. They are known as fourfold qualification. So once the seeker is established or perfect in this four qualification, then he is given the knowledge for the supreme God. Sadhana chatushtya or fourfold qualification that a student, sincere student should possess, they are known as Viveka, Vairagya, Sham Adi Shat Sampatti, and Mumukshutvam. As for every achievement in life, one should develop particular qualities. So also in spiritual life, one should be well trained in qualities or qualifications. For example, a singer's foremost quality is a good voice with control over breath and tone. So these fourfold qualifications are Viveka. Vivek means discrimination. Discrimination is the ability of the person to differentiate between good and bad, real and unreal, to differentiate between permanent and impermanent. This discrimination is not the discrimination between the color or races. It is not that. But it is permanent and impermanent. For example, this world is impermanent, constantly changing. The body is impermanent. But God or soul, they are permanent. They are real. So according to this Viveka, only God is real and every other thing is constantly changing and unsteady. The second qualification of the seeker is Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment. It is the attitude in oneself of not being attached to the worldly pleasure. Always aim for that highest, but not from any pleasure or enjoyment. Sometimes people get little bit scared about this word detachment. Here, Vairagya detachment is not to run away from the world, but to remain in the world, but not to be attached with this changing pleasure or impermanent pleasure or enjoyment. You do your duty, but don't be attached too much. So even the seekers on the path of Vedanta do not aspire to go to heaven, considering it to be a temporary departure from suffering and not a permanent remedy. So if you see that from yoga philosophy onward or Sankhya philosophy onward, the goal is not anymore heaven, but it is more about the liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Then third qualification of seeker in Vedanta philosophy is Sham Adi Shat Sampattihi. So there are six spiritual treasures one has to cultivate. Shama, Dama, etc. So everyone looks for worldly possessions, but very few search for true spiritual treasures, which will bring real joy and peace in life. So Shama means control over the mind. The mind by nature is restless and makes our life too restless. A seeker understands the nature of mind and wants to be free from all turbulences in life. So he masters the art of controlling the mind. Then second quality is Dhamma. Dhamma is the control over the sense organs. We have been blessed with five organs of action and five organs of perception. For example, tongue to speak, feet to move, hands to give and take, genitals for procreation and pleasure, and the anus for excretion. So these are the karmendriyas, like organs of action. Then organs of perception, gyanendriyas, eyes to see, ears to hear, tongue to taste, skin to touch, and nose to smell. These are the sense organs of perception. So these organs must be used intelligently. Just as a horse pulling a cart, if not properly trained, can cause an accident. Similarly, these sense organs, if not properly oriented, will create trouble and mistakes in life. They are not for our downfall or destruction, but they are for our evolution. This is what our master, Baba Hariharanji, said. God has not given us the sense organs for our destruction, but for our evolution. So instead of abusing them or using it for unnecessary purpose, we start perceiving divinity through these sense organs. Then third, in Sham Adi Shat Sampati, six spiritual treasure. So one is Shama, Dhamma, and third spiritual treasure is Uparati. Uparati is the flow of one's own. It is you can say, to follow one's own duties and responsibilities. It means to be attached and to be conscious of the higher aspects of living. This is what is Uparati. Then next one is called Shraddha. Shraddha is the faith or deep love in the words of scripture and the teachings of spiritual guides. So in Vedantic text it says, Guru Vedanta Vakya Adishu Vishwasa Shraddha. To have firm belief in the words of teachers, in the words of scriptures is known as Shraddha. This is the most important element of spiritual practice. One has to not only maintain faith, but also to put faith into practice. So it is not just theory. Then fifth spiritual treasure is known as Titiksha. Titiksha means forbearance of the duality in life, or you can say the tolerance. To tolerate the effects of duality in life, such as pleasure and pain, loss and gain, success and failure, to remain balanced. This is called titiksha. If it is too cold, not to complain. If it is too hot, not to complain. If you are going through prosperity, don't be excited. If you are going through adversity, don't feel down. So just maintain the equanimity. just tolerate or forbear. This is called titiksha. Then next one is called samadhana. Samadhana means the balance of mind as well as the single pointedness. It is the steadiness in life to achieve success in contemplation and meditation. Samadhana. One meaning of samadhana is also solution. So you can find the solution to problems only when you are focused. That is samadhana. Then these are the six spiritual treasures. Then fourth qualification of a seeker in Vedanta is known as mumukshutvam. Means deep desire for freedom and liberation. Here, freedom is not freedom as you want to do, freedom from the cycle of birth and death. So, mumukshutvam is the intense desire for liberation. It is not a temporary or fleeting desire, but a sincere and determined effort to achieve this highest goal in life. The guru is the guide who has reached the goal and helps the qualified students to achieve that goal. With theoretical as well as practical instructions, Guru trains the disciple. Guru is the personification of wisdom and devotion. In Vedanta philosophy, Anubhuti is the ultimate experience on the path of study, contemplation, and meditation. Ordinary experience is dependent on the sense organs as well as the inner instruments like mind, intellect, ego, and memory. But the spiritual experience is known as aparoksha anubhuti, direct experience. Means you do not utilize any of the inner instrument. Means the experience or aparoksha anubhuti, this direct experience of divinity or Brahman is not dependent on these inner instruments or outer instrument. That means we go beyond body, beyond mind, beyond intellect, ego, or even we transcend the memory, time, and causation. So that anubhuti is the ultimate goal. Now, if you put together this Vedanta philosophy, the synthesis, we can say it is called Uttara Mimamsa or Vedanta philosophy. It is the end of knowing through the experience of the absolute. The fourfold qualification that a sincere student should possess are Viveka, Vairagya, Shama, Dam, Adi, Shat, Sampatti, six spiritual treasures, and Mumukshutvam, intense desire for liberation, which we discussed. The manifestation of one's divinity is the goal of life. That potentially we all are divine. We are the children of God. So we have to manifest the divinity, and that's the goal of life. And ultimately, we experience God or divinity. We go to the experience of Brahman. We are in Maya, we are in the world. We transcend it, and then we go to this ultimate experience, Anubhuti, which is aparoksha. There are few words like this in Vedanta they study pratyaksha, paroksha, and aparoksha. So pratyaksha means we discussed that prati aksha. Direct, I see you, you see me. This is pratyaksha. Paroksha means I have not seen something, but I have heard or I have read about it. So this is paroksha. Paraksha means from the eyes of others. And aparoksha, means not. That means which is not through any sense organ or any second-hand information, but it is your own experience internally. You get that transcendental experience. So this is about the six philosophies which were developed. Now question comes that how they came into existence. So I'll tell you a very interesting story about it or anecdote. When the theologians and the scholars, they were contemplating, debating, putting the thought process together, and they come up with these philosophies. So when they started thinking about creator and creation, this body and the world, so some had raised questions. So there are five questions came before all these philosophies came into existence. And this is a beautiful verse you can find in Shiva Mahimna Stotra. And this is a hymn to Lord Shiva by Adi Shankara. So in this Shiva Mahimna Stotra, no, this is not by Adi Shankar, it is ancient, it is by Pushpadanta, a celestial Gandharva, however. So the fifth verse in Shiva Mahimna Stotra tells, Kim iha kim kaya sakhalu kim upaya tribhuvanam kim adharam dhata srajati kim upadana iti cha. Then it goes continuously. So this is the only portion I have taken. It tells about this entire story of these six philosophies. Kim iha, kim kaya, sakhalu, kim upaya tribhuvanam, kim adharam dhata srajati kim upadana iti cha. To fulfill what desire, assuming what form, with what instruments, support, and material does that creator create the three worlds? Because this thought came and then they established that this entire world is created by God. So they raised the questions. Some theologians, they said that if God created this entire world, which is three worlds, like heaven, earth, and regions below the earth. So if God created, then with what is the desire? And how did he create? And with assuming what form? What is the form of God? What are the instruments God used? What is the support? Where did God sit? And what material did he use to create this entire creation? So these were the questions. And with these questions, they went into more discussion, contemplation, debate, and then they came to find these philosophies. So the first question in this verse is that if God is the creator of this infinite universe, then what and how is his action? Kim, kimah, kim iha. Kim iha means what is the action of God? So through debate, through that contemplation, they came with the answer. In the infinite space, how can there be activity? Because when we say the space is there, the first element in the creation, but how can there be activity in the infinite space? Does it move? Does it work? If there is no action in God, then how can God be the creator? Because creator means he is creating, there is some action. For example, maker of a pot is active. So any creation involves activity. This is the first question they raised. What is the action of God? Then what is the body of that God? Formless cannot create anything. So everywhere the body form works. For example, a farmer having body produces the crop. A potter with body makes the clay pot. So if God creates the universe, then he must have also some bodily form. But we don't see his body. This was the second question, Kim Kaya. Third question, to make pot or house, instruments are required. What instrument does God have? Suppose we are sitting in this hall. So this hall is created with some material and some instruments are required to create this. So what are the instruments with which God created this universe? Then fourth question there is, where does God sit for creation? Suppose a potter makes the pot, kim adhara. A potter makes the pot sitting on ground. Birds makes the nest sitting on the tree. We have not heard someone constructed a house sitting in the space. So if God sits on the earth and creates, then how did he make the earth sitting on him itself? Because it is said that God created earth also at the end. So if God created earth, so where was he sitting before? Then fifth question, which is raised in this verse, to create anything, kim upadana. To create anything, some material or upadan karan is required. Without clay, a pot cannot be made. Without fiber, cloth cannot be woven. A necklace cannot be made without gold. So material is required. So without brick and cement, house cannot be constructed. So what materials God had to create this universe? How God created this material even? So now you see, going back to philosophy in the same chronology. From Nyaya and Vaisheshik philosophy, the answer is of these questions. Without activity, the work is done by effort only. The Nyaya and Vaisheshik philosophy answered that there is no activity, but just by effort only, means without having the action as we see. God has eternal knowledge, eternal desire, and eternal action. And they gave a they gave an example to prove this point. So Nyaya and Vaisheshik philosophies, the first question of Kim Iha means what is the action of God? So they replied. They said, and it is in the Bhagavatam, दर्शन ध्यान संस्पर्शे मत्स्य कूर्मश्य पक्षिणी शिशुम पालयते नित्यम तथा सज्जन संगति. A fish by looking at the egg, a mother turtle just by contemplating from a distance, and a bird sitting and giving warmness hatches the egg. So also God created this universe. Now, if you see, there is no action with the hand or feet or any other instrument. Just by looking at the egg, a mother turtle is contemplating from the distance. A fish, the egg of fish is hatched by the fish just by looking. And the turtle is contemplating from the distance, but the egg is hatched. And the bird sitting on the egg and giving warmness. But with that, the egg is hatched. So also, God created this universe just by his own effort with a desire that I want to create. And with this desire, the entire creation is happening. Then another, in this verse, it is said, Shishum Pal, there are few examples. Darshana Dhyana Sansparshe Matsya Kurmashya Pakshini. And the sages, they gave the answer that female peacock conceives just by sight and begets. So also God creates the universe by willpower. He just willed. He desired that let there be creation. And in the Taittiriya Upanishad, the mantra is that Eko aham bahusyam prajayeti. Let me become manifold. And with that desire, he created. So he didn't need any action. Just by this will, God created. And the examples are here that they are not doing a particular action, but still the egg is hatched. Now, the question was raised that what is the body of God? So they say, if body is required, then atom is the body of God. So atom itself is the body of God, which is the Sankhya, which is the Vaisheshika Anad philosophy of atomic theory. Then the question was raised that what material God used to create this universe? So they came with the answer in the next verse. The answer is that as the spider, this example you can find in Mundak Upanishad, यथा ऊर्णनाभि सृजते गृह्णते च यथा पृथिव्याम ओषधयः संभवन्ति यथा सतः पुरुषात् केशलोमानि तथा अक्षरात् संभवति विश्वम. As a spider creates and withdraws its web, as herbs grow on the earth, as hair grow on the head, and the body of a on the body of living person, in the same manner, from the imperishable arises here the universe. So the answer is, saints and sages, they observed the creation. They found the spider is creating a beautiful cobweb. And how does it create? It does not bring any material from outside, but out of its own body. It is said that some hormones are secreted. So with that, it creates a beautiful thread, and this continues, and big cobweb is created within just few minutes or hours. And then this spider lives in this cobweb as long as it wants. And they also observe that at the end, the spider is just swallowing its saliva or the cobweb. It makes it a small, rolling into a ball and then swallows it. So this is the example when they observed, they gave that this is how God created this universe without any material from outside. That means this creation is not, God did not create. I would say God projected this universe out of himself. Just like the spider is projecting the cobweb out of itself and then swallowing it. So also the creation projected and it dissolves into God. So this is the answer they gave for the question that what material God needs. Then they again raise the question that if the atom is the body of God, then who made atoms? They are eternal. They cannot be created nor destroyed. So atoms are eternal. So nobody created atom. They cannot be created nor destroyed. Now, when we say atom means it comes to energy ultimately. And in the quantum physics also we say that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So the theologian again raised a question, if God cannot create or destroy the atoms, then how God is omnipotent? Because he has all power. So if he cannot create or destroy atoms, how is omnipotent? Then in the Sankhya philosophy came the reply. In Sankhya philosophy, the reply came that the atom is not eternal. Again, I'll refer to that verse here. It says, Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidyanadhi Ubhavapi Vikaranshya Gunashaiva Vidhi Prakriti Sambhavan. This is from Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, 20th verse. So it is based on Sankhya philosophy. It says, know that Prakriti, which is material nature, and Purusha, which is individual soul, they are both beginningless. Also know that all transformation of the body and the three modes of nature are produced by the material energy. Because there are three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, they are intrinsic part of the Prakriti. And because of the modification of these three gunas, there is some, all this creation is happening because of these three gunas modification or their imbalance. So you say in this Sankhya philosophy, Purusha and Prakriti, this concept is there. So what is Purusha? The definition or etymological meaning is Puryam Shete iti Purusha. One who is sleeping in the city. So in the body, which is the city, Puri, who is sleeping? The soul. So, sorry. So one who is sleeping in the city is this soul or God. That is Purusha. And Prakriti, Prakrishtena kriyate iti Prakriti. That which is clearly active. So body is active, soul is behind the curtain. Soul is just witness. The soul is Purusha. The body is Prakriti. So in philosophy of Sankhya, the answer came that that atom is not eternal as it can be disintegrated. But they also could not clarify that Prakriti is eternal. So because they say in Sankhya, we say that Prakriti and Purush both are eternal. So God does not create Prakriti, then how God is omnipotent? So this answer they could not give. So in this Sankhya philosophy, they said, yes, Purusha is eternal. They say Prakriti is also eternal, but they could not prove that Prakriti is eternal because the atoms can be disintegrated. Then Vedanta came in place. Vedanta said that Prakriti is also not eternal. That means Purusha is eternal, but Prakriti is not eternal as per Vedanta. That means the Prakriti is known as Maya and it is the creative power of God. The question came again that God is omnipresent and creates the universe and the nature, but can he create himself? So this is an absurd question because creator is the cause and the one being created is the effect. Cause is the first, then comes effect. For example, father and son, they cannot exist at the same time. The father exists before. And who created father means the father is there. The son cannot create father. So then sometimes people say whether first came egg or chicken. So this is abstract question. It has no logic behind that. So cause is the first, God is the cause, and the creation is the effect which comes later. So one who already exists cannot be reborn. So God is existing, therefore creator exists in the beginning and cannot be reborn. However, this is just about the different stages of philosophy, how they were developed over the period of time with all the logic, with all the discussions and so on. It's a very deeper topic and we cannot go much into detail, but just to give some idea that these six schools of philosophy, Shad Darshana, they just help us to know God. And we use most of these philosophies we use in our day-to-day life to know the truth. However, the ultimate goal of our life is to experience divinity within and outside both. God is omnipresent, God is omnipotent. When we believe that God is omnipresent, then God is present everywhere in you, me, and every object, every atom of this universe. The only problem is we believe in this truth, but we do not practice. Kriya Yoga is the practice which helps us to develop this attitude and bring this unity. When we close our eyes, we see divinity within. When we open the eyes, we see divinity in this world. This is the beginning. And when we maintain this attitude, become and discharging all our duties, become free from the cycle of birth and death in one lifetime. So thank you all for your patience and this series. I am praying to God for all of you, praying for the entire creation. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May all become happy and healthy, loving, noble, and generous. May there be no suffering, no sorrow. May there be more love, peace, and harmony among us and in this entire creation. Om. Amen. Thank you all. I bow to God within you all.